Welcome back to the Around the Diamond podcast with your host, Sam Edwards, episode 183, the podcast for the baseball nerd. How we doing, Jacob? We got a dope guest on today, guys. Jacob from That's Baseball and That's Baseball, dope YouTube channel. I kind of gave him his come up, last year. Had him on the second base list. We're doing our top 10 second baseman again. Maybe we'll make this a yearly thing. Who knows? Jacob, how we doing?
I'm doing really well, man. So I'm the yearly second baseman analyst, I guess, because I did play second base in high school, and I was an all conference honorable mention, and I hit nearly 350, as I like to say. So yeah, I was a pretty big deal. Like I had some teams calling me, but
yeah,
it turned out that YouTube was my true passion. So that's the direction I ended up going, and it's working out right now. I got the brand deals. I got HelloFresh calling my name. That new video.
Yeah, baby. Oh man. No, it's been dope, honestly. Truthfully, it's been dope to watch you. Especially over this past year. I was just listening to our episode last year and you're talking about trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. I was like, oh yeah. He hadn't hit 1,000 yet. Like that's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
good job.
I didn't hit 1,000 until I think it was either June or like even July. Because I remember we did the I don't know if you saw the thing that 5 Points Vid set up, the YouTuber baseball game, and my goal was to hit 1,000 before then, and I didn't. I just missed out on it. I was like at 970, 980 right before then.
Yeah,
and I was there with a bunch of these guys who got like 100,000 subs. I was there with like a RBT was like he's about to reach 1 million subs, and I was there with like 970. And I just felt I felt like I wasn't really meant to be there with those guys, and now it's just kind of cool to have the numbers up like this. Like it makes it feel more legitimate, like all the work that I've done over the nearly 2 years I've been doing this.
Yeah, bro, you've had some bangers over this past year, some really good ones. The one about the Angels was so great, even if it was truthfully crushing. As soon as Mike Trout came on the scene, it was like I started like rooting for the Angels and everything, as I think most baseball fans did. And your video kind of pointed out the problems that they've had over the past decade. But you've had some bangers, man. It's been dope to watch, dope to see. I got to get this YouTube on YouTube. And maybe if you're watching this right now, maybe I did it, maybe I finally pulled through and did this finally. Oh gosh, it's taken me long enough, but you've been inspiration, I will say. The consistency and the quality of content's been dope, I will say. It's been amazing. And at the end of the day, just numbers, bro. Like you said, like you're around people that are getting close to 1 million. It's just regular guy. It's just regular guy, and you're making the same videos, whether it gets 1 million views or 13,000. All right, let's get into it. Top 10 second baseman right now. It's a weird list, man. It's a weird list every year because second base is such a shaky position.
It's very, very thin. So
very thin.
Do you want to talk honorable mentions first? Because I got a list of like 10 honorable mentions I could rattle off right now. But I don't know if you want to do the. Do you want to do our top 10 first, and then go back and talk about those guys?
You know what we're gonna do? Let's do our top. Let's do the first 5, and then we'll run back to the honorable mentions.
All right, so like 10 through 6, and then we'll do honorable mentions because that's kind of like the same. Like the 10 through 6 guys are the interchangeable guys with the honorable. Yeah, okay.
Right.
So we're starting off with number 10.
Number 10,
I'm going first here?
Yeah, baby.
All right, so this is where my bias as a Yankees fan is going to show a little bit. I have Gleyber Torres ranked number 10. And I feel like a lot of people kind of discount him because he was such a big prospect. And he popped off 2018, 2019. He was like almost a 40 home run guy. And then he didn't work out at shortstop, really struggled in 2021, really struggled in 2020. But last year he was good. He played good defense. He was a solid hitter. He had one really bad month in August, and he was still a solid hitter on the year. We removed that month. I believe he was a 120 WRC plus guy the other 5 months of the year.
Yeah. And
if he's going to be a 110 WRC plus guy with good defense, I think that's a top 10 second baseman no matter what. And I think he also has room to grow. So I think his floor with his improved defense at second is pretty reasonable, and his ceiling is probably a top 5 guy if he can find that power stroke again.
Yeah,
I could see a world where he's like a 130 WRC plus guy, and he's also like a 4 or 5 OAA guy as a fielder, and that's probably like a 5 or 6 win season if he can pull that all together in one season. So I think he definitely deserves a spot in the top 10.
I agree. I think you have him too low.
I think I have too low.
Yeah, I think you got him
I
too
do have
low.
some. I have some bold picks ahead.
I
do. I have like 3 pretty bold picks ahead.
Fair enough. I mean, already off the rip. You know what I love, and it was a reminder of last year as well. We have such a different. I think we just make such different ranking lists that it makes it so much fun because I honestly have no idea what you're going to come up with next, and it's fantastic. All right, my
boldest.
Let's get it, baby. My number 10 is Tyro Estrada on the San Francisco Giants. Breakout year for him. 14 homers, 21 stolen bases. You know, he's got the speed, 106 runs created plus, so not amazing in that respect and fairly average on defense. 2.7 WAR on the season. Had a full season, not an amazing hitter, slightly above average. But this was the breakout, and I will say maybe I was swung a little bit because of the stolen bases, and I think that 21 could easily jump up to 25, 30 maybe this coming year. But he had a good year, not amazing, and I was kind of surprised to see him as high as he was, and I think he just cracks the top 10. I could easily see him missing the list, or maybe you've got him way higher. Who knows? But I like Estrada. And we'll see what he could do as he continues his career. I could easily see this being his only good year or his only decent year. But
I don't really want to spoil, but I will say he did not make my list. He just missed it. He's one of my like 20 honorable mentions, and he had a really great year. But at the same time, he was like pretty solid all around, and he was still not even like a 3 WAR player. So like I don't really know like how much better can he get? You know what I mean? Like if he had a great year with he was pretty efficient stealing bases. He had some decent pop. Doesn't draw too many walks. Doesn't strike out a whole lot, but still strikes out a decent amount. And I guess like this is looking like that's probably a standard season for him, if not on the high end of what he's gonna do. So I feel like I don't know what more he can do, and I feel like there's some other names on here that had similar seasons that I think could get better. And that's why I left him off my list.
Fair enough. Good points. Absolutely. I think he was just good enough for me. I don't know how much better I think he's really going to get because he's never really been like a top prospect or anything. So I'm curious to see what he can do going forward. If he can stay at this level, I think he could always be kind of in the general consideration for that number 10 spot for second base just because of how weak of a position it is because he's not an amazing player. 2.7 WAR on the season. Nothing amazing there, but good enough, I guess, for this year. Especially this year, it feels especially weak, especially with all these guys changing positions or not playing quite enough second base to be considered for myself. But we'll see. What do we got here? Number 9 for you.
All right, for number 9, I went with a pretty bold pick. It's kind of you're based on your last pick and what I just said about it. You can just look at mine and be like, all right, that's kind of hypocritical because Brendan Rodgers only had a 1.7 WAR season. He was a below average hitter according to WRC plus. Didn't steal a bag. Didn't hit for any power, even though he plays at Coors. And he's a decent defender, but not really anything special.
Okay,
but I look at that Baseball Savant page, and I see how he hits the ball, and I just like something has to give here because he plays at Coors, like I said. Yeah. His BABIP was like 300 this year, even though he hits the ball really well. So like I don't know. I haven't researched too much about him, so I guess maybe he just like maybe he hits the ball hard into the ground. I don't know, but like it seems to me like he's a guy who, if he puts it together, he's a low launch angle guy. So if he figures that out, he could be really good. But if I don't know, I feel like he's someone who's due for a breakout season. He's probably one of the guys I'll look at on this list and say, I'm gonna push all my chips in. I think he's gonna be someone who takes a jump from 2021 to 2022 more than most of the others. I'm on his Savant right now. His max exit velo is 83rd percentile. Average is 69th percentile. Pretty nice.
Mm.
Good defender according to OAA. Like I don't know, he just has the makeup. He was a top prospect. He was a big name, kind of similar to Glaber. I feel like they're both ranked in the top 10 of prospects around the same time.
Yeah.
And both came up as shortstops, didn't really work out at shortstop, and now both are playing second base.
Yeah.
And I think he has a higher ceiling than a lot of other guys, so that's why I have him on my list.
Interesting. He's not on my list. He's definitely a guy that I think is interesting and I've kept my eye on, but I'm just not ready to put the chips in. I've been burned many a time by a good bright red baseball savant page, and also by top prospects as well. The combination that's deadly for the average baseball analyst, in my opinion. But do you think he's going to have a better 2023 than Torres?
That's hard to say. I feel like I said, I think Torres is on here because he's kind of a safer pick.
Right.
But if I could see Rogers having like I said, he had a 300 BABIP this year. I could see him having like a 360 BABIP year. Just like everything falls his way. He's hitting the ball hard. If he starts lifting the ball a little bit more, pulling some fly balls, he could be a 15-20 homer guy while also spraying the ball across the field and getting hits. And he's also a really good defender. Like he's a good defender for the position. So I think he's always going to have some value, even if his hitting doesn't all align, like I kept saying. But I think if it does all align, then he could be a higher ceiling guy than Glaber.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. The defense definitely helps him a lot in the comparison to Glaber specifically. And we are still not at my Glaber pick. My number 9 is Jorge Polanco. He's a guy that didn't have a great year, 1.8 WAR this season, -9 outs above average on defense. Love to see it. But a big down year for him. Still hit 16 bombs, and the walk percentage actually took a huge jump this season, going from 7% in 2021 to 14.4% this past year.
That's a huge number right there.
That's a jump. With also, I mean, the K percentage did take a jump, but 3% jump from 18.
I'll double the walk percentage for a slightly increased K percentage all day.
Absolutely. And I don't know if it was just him not being as aggressive hitting wise. The BABIP took a slight dip, but nothing like amazing, nothing extremely drastic. But so he saw a big improvement on the walk percentage, obviously, but the power definitely slipped a good amount. And I still believe that he could return back to his 2021 performance of 33 bombs, 11 stolen bases, full season. He was definitely injured a good amount. He's a guy that usually plays quite a bit. So 445 plate appearances is for him this past year. Definitely lesser than what he's used to. The 644 plate appearances in 2021. I easily think he can get back to that. And like we've said, 1,000 times already, this list is so weak that I see room for a guy like Polanco that can keep him in the top 10, and I still believe he can improve. Plus, last year, his defense was fine. Last year being 2021, 1 outs above average.
That's
average, good enough. And
that's where I had my issue with Polanco, because I think Rogers is the guy who took Polanco's spot on my list. Like I had Polanco in there for a little bit, and I was like, I don't know, because Polanco went from like an adequate fielding shortstop to an awful shortstop to an adequate second baseman to an awful second baseman. So if this trend continues, who's to say they don't move him over to first base like they did with Arise before they traded him? Like, I don't know, can he stick in the middle infield? I'm not sure if that's possible, especially now he's been hurt. And the power dropping off is really concerning to me, because that's what you have him on the list for. You have him on the list because he's a 30 homer second baseman. Like you don't see that with many of these guys. He's like a Dan Uggla type. But if he's only hitting 16 bombs, then I don't really see the room for him on here.
It's one of the best on bases, especially for this latter half of the list.
Yeah,
346. True. Did I say on base weird? The on bases? That was weird.
On bases.
I'm not doing that.
Gets on base well,
but he's got like a higher on base than vast majority of guys on this list. And I know on base isn't like the end all be all, but if you can still hit 16 bombs, I still think he can get to at least 20 bombs this coming year with around a 340 on base. That's more than good enough. 119 runs created plus. If he can play adequate defense at second base, and I still believe he can, just because of how generally inconsistent defensive metrics can
And
be.
I think that's my concern with him is like even if let's say he hits 20 bombs again, let's say he plays like adequate defense, let's say he's a 340 on base guy. That to me is a season going right for him. And that's still probably what, like a 2.5 or 3 win season. Like I don't, because he's not going to play good defense. We know that. And he's not going to be the best hitter. We know that. So I don't know. I just feel like his like what he did last year is his or in 2021 is probably his best season possible. And I don't see him just magically being that guy again. I think he's going to be somewhere between 2021 and 2022. And that's not a great player. That's a solid player. That's someone you take, but that's not a great player that you like, that you really want on your team. You have better options, in my opinion.
It's possible. It's possible we look back at 2021 and go, yeah, that was clearly his peak. He's just, I don't know, man.
I know that power like potential is always enticing.
It is, and I think the most enticing part is like the barrel percentage didn't take a dip, the X slugging didn't take a dip.
Yeah, he underperformed his batted ball data a bit. Like his X WOBA was actually up in 2022 compared to 2021, but I'm not a huge X WOBA believer. Like, I don't know how much it correlates to actual results. Because you see this all the time. Like if we're talking, especially or if we're talking like barrel rate. People going into last year had Bobby Dahlbeck ranked top 10 because he had like a sick barrel rate. Everyone was like, "Oh, this guy's gonna hit 40 homers this year," and it's like, yeah, but he can't hit the ball, so it's like, does it really matter? So obviously, Polanco's a more developed hitter than Bobby Dahlbeck. He's done it before. It's different, but you know what I mean? I don't think you could just say, "Oh, he's due for a better year because he underperformed it this year." You know what I mean? I think it's not very consistent. Not everyone regresses to the means the same way.
Yeah, I believe in Polanco. I believe in him. I think
he's probably my 11th or 12th ranked guy if I had to keep the list going.
So he's close enough.
He's someone that if I made my list 5 minutes later, I might have had him there. But, you know what I mean?
You had something different for breakfast this morning. You know, who knows? Exactly. You know, the way this universe moves. What do we got? Number 8.
Number 8. I went with back-to-back Brendan. So I went with Brendan Donovan of the St. Louis Cardinals. He had a really, really strong offensive season. He kind of shot his way through the minors. He wasn't as big of a deal as Nolan Gorman and some of their other prospects have been. But he came up, and he was really, really legit for them. And right now, I'm not sure what they're going to do with their infield. It could be Gorman getting the majority of games at second. But
sure.
Roster Resource right now has Brendan Donovan starting at second, and that's what I'm going to go with. So I really like him to continue hitting well. There's nothing to tell me that he's going to regress substantially next year, and he was already like 2.5 WAR player in like half the game in like 90 games or something. Like that looks really solid to me on paper. So
I like it. Who knew we'd connect here at number 8 here with all the disagreement we've had so far. I got number 8, Brendan Donovan. Nice. Obviously, Tommy Edman played a decent amount of second base, but played more shortstop. So for me, he just doesn't qualify. Also, he's going to be most likely starting at shortstop going forward.
I think we both had this going into it. We both kind of figured Edman's the shortstop, and Paul DeJong is pretty much done with them. I think he fell off so much that he's not really a threat to start more than a couple of games there, or unless Edman gets hurt. So yeah, Edman's the shortstop, and then second base is going to be probably Donovan and Gorman.
We'll see. I'm curious who kind of takes control of it. But if Donovan continues to hit like he hit this past year, I am really interested to see what he can do. Only had 264 and a third innings at second base this past year. He played all around quite a bit, but the runs, 129 runs created plus, extremely good, 2.7 WAR.
Yeah.
He's just a good hitter, man, and the walk percentage.
Yeah, that walk rate. The walk rate's inching up close to that strikeout rate, and that's in his rookie year too. That's really impressive.
Right. And what a base!
Not too much power, but like if he's able to, he was always a high BABIP guy in the minors, and that continued into his first season in the bigs. So I don't think he has too much room to grow. But if he's like this solid player who can kind of do it all for them, then I think he'll always have a spot in their lineup, even if it's not at second base going forward. Because obviously we don't really know, but I think he's still a really good player.
He feels like a Tampa Bay Ray. He feels like a guy that
he feels
you look at and go, how does he have a 129 runs? No way he's 29% better than the average hitter. You're like, oh, it's the walk percentage. And he can also hit for a decent average.
He feels like a St. Louis Cardinal to me. Because, like, all those, they have those guys, right? Like, they're like the Rays, except they also hit for average. That's like their thing.
Right. Yeah, he fits really well. If he was amazing on defense, it would make a little bit more sense and maybe feel a little more like a Cardinal.
He reminds me of Alan Craig. They say Alan Craig hit like 340, but that's I just want to bring up that name.
You have a checklist. You have a checklist of random players.
Well, I know as a Boston fan, you're probably like, oh shit, that guy.
he
was traded for him to play in Double-A for 3 years.
Yeah, he was definitely a guy that we grabbed and was like, oh, okay, Alan Craig, not bad. And then he did nothing. So yeah, I'm pretty numb to the name at this point, but I do remember him being amazing with the Cardinals.
Dude, it's like that Shaq and Kobe meme, like the Pawtucket Paw Sox. It was the 3 and 4 hitters were Alan Craig and Rusney Castillo.
Yeah,
just balling on that, smacking around those 20-year-old kids.
Yeah, right.
Making $13 million each, like.
Right, they better be paying for dinner, bro. They better be paying for dinner. But yeah, Donovan, breakout year. I'm really curious if he can hold on to that second base job. I think he'll be able to. I'm curious how that infield kind of shakes out for the Cardinals, because obviously you got Arenado and Goldschmidt locked in at the corners, and you got Tommy Edman who's got to get AB. So I wonder if they split it with Donovan and Gorman, or if one person really takes control of it. And I think if one person's Donovan's shown enough, especially as a hitter. The walk percentage is absolutely filthy, and you love to see that from a young dude. Love to see it. Number 7. Sorry, 7. My gosh, I can't count.
So 9, I had Brendan Rodgers. 8, I had Brendan Donovan. 7, I have Brandon Lowe. I'm not sure which is which. And I kind of felt bad putting him this low because he was so good in 2021, almost a 40 homer guy. But like the injuries is something that I can't just ignore. He was hurt all year, and I also don't know if he's going to stick at second base because of that. Like I could see him ending up at first base and DHing with them. I think the bat's always going to be there as long as he's playing. He's always going to be a good hitter, always going to be like a solid base runner. Yeah. But in the field, I don't really know if he's a second baseman long term. And yeah, he definitely his hitting took a bit of a hit because he was hurt last year and he barely played. He didn't play that many games, so I'm not really taking stock into his performance as a hitter. But it's more about I don't know if this guy is staying here long term. And I feel like Tampa, they'll figure something out. They have a lot of these young middle infielders coming up where they'll do some platooning. They'll probably have Lowe go to first base a little bit, DH a little bit, and have someone like Vidal Brujan play second who can defend a little bit better. Sure. So I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do with him long term, but I really like the bat. I still think he's a top 5 or even top 3 guy if everything's going right for him at the position. But as of right now, I don't feel comfortable putting him in the top half of my top 10.
Yeah, injuries suck. Injuries suck, especially for top 10 lists, because you're like, am I betting? Like, I don't know. I hate projections in general. I never feel like they're right, and I never feel like they're reliable.
You're not a big steamer guy?
Yeah, not a big steamer guy. I'm just not super big. Like, just this year, I started looking at projections just a little bit closer. But like,
Steamer likes him.
Yeah, I know. See, that's the other thing, bro. It's like when you look at it and go, huh? Like, I just can't follow them super strictly. So it's hard for me, especially with injuries. It's just hard for me to project with these types of guys. And Lowe was definitely one of them. Or Lau. I think he's Lau and Nathaniel Lowe. I think that's
what it is.
I get them two switched up so many times. I'm pretty sure it's Brandon Lau. But either way, my number 7 is Gavin Lux on the Dodgers. I love this swing, man. And maybe I'm guilty of loving a swing a little too much here, but
I know what's going on here. You know what? I know that. So you have Gavin Lux 7. I'm gonna guess you have Gleyber Torres 6.
Interesting.
Because
we're not there yet.
All right, buddy. It's because when I was doing my ranking originally, I had Torres and Lux both as like the same type of oh, these guys came up as shortstops.
Yep.
They were supposed to have big bats, and they both haven't really hit as well or fielded as well as they were supposed to, but they're both still really solid. I feel like they're both in the camp of like really solid guys who you're kind of just waiting for that like breakout season for, but like you don't really know what you're getting with them. And I actually don't have Lux on my list because he's listed as their shortstop right now, but I'm not sure. I know they just extended Miguel Rojas, so I'm not sure if he's gonna. To me, I think Rojas ends up as the utility guy, so I'm not sure if Lux stays at shortstop or plays more second. They have Muncy who can play second. Like I don't know what they're gonna do, so I just left him off entirely because I already had him in that same like 8 to 12 range because I see him as kind of an equal to Torres. So yeah, I just avoided that, but I completely agree. I'm completely. I think it's reasonable to have him where you ranked him because I still think he's a really good player with a pretty high floor.
Yeah, that's kind of right. He's kind of that young guy, and we throw around the word potential all the time with these young top prospects coming up that you're like, oh, when is Gavin Lux really going to break out? I don't know if he's ever going to really break out, so I don't even know if this is me even betting on this season going to be amazing. But I think he, like you said, he's got a great floor. He's very good defensively. He was 81st in outs above average this past year at second base. With the extension with Rojas, I feel like he could easily just become the utility guy, especially if he doesn't hit well enough, or if Muncy or Miguel Vargas maybe steps up at second base. And if that happens, I that's kind of the thing with the Dodgers these days. Like they're always just kind of moving pieces around. They've always got some young guy coming up that they're hoping kind of steps up, and Lux was one of those guys. But I feel like he's been very consistent, shown really good plate discipline. The walk percentage, once again, is decent. Doesn't hit for
all right, so
great
you're talking all about this about this walk percentage. Then you have Gleyber Torres like in your top 5. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Gleyber's never seen a pitch he doesn't like to swing at. That's all I know. Watching all these Yankees games. Gleyber's a big rollover in a hitter's count type of guy. That's my main issue as just like a boomer like viewer. I'm like, oh, why is he swinging at that shit? It's 2-1. Why are you rolling over? But yeah.
Yeah, no, I got you, bro. I got you. He is my number 6, Torres. I think this is kind of his cruising period. This is kind of where he may have found his lane right here. He's not great defensively. He's about average. He's above average offensively, 115 runs created plus, 2.7 WAR on the season. He can hit bombs, and he can also hit them the other way as well, take advantage of that right field wall.
That's honestly his strong suit is when he's just swinging down, driving the ball the other way. I don't want to sound like a boomer, like, oh, he's a great, he hits the ball up. Like, no, but like every hitter is different, and you can tell when he gets that opposite field swing go. Like when he's right, he's shooting the ball into the right center field gap.
Absolutely,
and it just looks right. It looks like there's times where he'll be lunging way out in front of balls and he'll just roll over, and it just like looks like he's like the weakest man alive. It looks like me swinging a bat.
Yeah, that's
way too heavy for me. And it's like, but when he's driving the ball the other way, everything looks he looks strong and powerful. He looks like he's been doing this his whole life because he obviously has. And so it's all about timing with him, honestly, is what I think.
Right.
So when there'll be a few week spans where you're like, all right, this guy's a legit top 5 second baseman. He's living up to the prospect billing. But then there's sometimes you're like, oh man, why can't he just do what he did last week?
Yeah, he's another guy that the power really plays, especially at the position. 10 stolen bases as well is nice. And
he's a really good base runner. He's not too fast. Like, he's probably at 40 or 50th percentile speed, but he's a really good base runner. There's been a few times, even not just with stealing bases, there's been a few like I feel like he gets a reputation as not really a very attentive ball player, but I think that's completely untrue because there's times where he'll take an extra base when no one's looking. There's a time where he took third base because of the shift, and then he took home because the catcher went to cover third and there's no one covering home, and there's just stuff like that where you watch and you're like, this guy's awareness is next level on the bases. So I feel like he doesn't really get much credit for that, but that's something I've seen.
Yeah, I like Torres. I like Torres a lot. I don't think he's gonna be amazing. I think he's good enough. I think he's good enough at the position and has played a decent amount as well, which is always nice to see.
I loved how he was just like a 0 OAA guy. It made me so happy that he was just good enough to stick at second base.
Yep,
after going from
absolutely.
like -9 at shortstop and like half a year there, I was like, oh god, like that's all I need from him. Just be a good hitter. If he could be a 120 WRC plus hitter with like a 0 to 3 OAA, I'll be happy.
Absolutely, and I think that's for this crappy of a list, and for me. That's maybe punishing some guys for injury too much, which is always tough to do. It's always tough to gauge, like guys like Lowe and things like that, or Lau, which is tough. It's tough. What do we got? Number 6.
I got Luis Arias.
Okay. Yep.
I think it's tough because I don't think he's a second baseman at all. I've been adamant about this, but the Marlins are saying he's going to be their second baseman, so I can't really dispute that, even though I don't think he'll work there. He's been an awful fielder at every position he's played in his career, and he's a DH / first baseman. He should probably DH for them and have Garrett Cooper play first, and then they have to move. They have too many outfield. They have too many mediocre outfield. There's so much I could talk about with this lineup that's pissing me off, but
yeah.
All that matters is he can hit, and he can hit really well. He puts the ball in play, probably unlike anyone else in the league right now. His age 25 season he just had, and he was a fantastic hitter.
Yeah.
Just like, he's gonna. He's kind of like he's unique. He's like an old school hitter. He just sprays the ball all around the field. He's not gonna hit for too much power, but he's gonna get on base. I think he walks more than he strikes out. There's so many things to like about him at the plate. The reason I don't have him higher than 6 is, even though he had a great year last year, is because of the defensive limitations, and also on offense, I don't really see room for him to grow. I feel like that was kind of his best season. Obviously, he's going to Miami. They also have a pretty big outfield. He's going to be able to find holes, put the ball down and play. He'll be probably the same hitter. I could see him as a perpetual like 3.5 win player there, and I think that's all you need to be number 6 ranked second baseman.
Definitely this year, especially. He was on my first base list. He played first base this past year, and I'm kind of with you. I don't think he works at second base, and I think they're going to keep him majority at first base going forward, even if they're announcing right now that he's going to play second base. I think he's a first baseman, and that's why he was on my top 10 first base list.
Where'd you have him on your first base list? I'm not going to lie, I didn't listen to the episode.
He was lower. I don't have my list in front of me.
First base is a tougher position. There's a lot more competition.
He was tough because he is a really good hitter, but he just doesn't fit the prototype of what you think of as a first baseman.
He's like a James Loney. He's not going to hit the homers, but he's going to get on base a good amount. Yeah, he's better.
Yeah, he's like a better James Loney.
To be fair,
he could. That's true. And I feel like was Arias bad at first base
he was
defensively?
Not good. I'll pull it up right now. I'm going to read off all of his outs above average at every position. All right, so we got this year at first base. Oh, he was 1 outs above average, but at first base, that's still not great.
He could have had anything, bro. He could have had anything. You would have been. It's not good enough.
No, if he was a 7 OAA guy at first base, be all right, he's a really good first baseman. He's a 1 OAA guy. Who cares?
Yeah.
I could be a 1 OAA guy right now in MLB first base. It's not that hard. You're competing with Vlad Guerrero and 260-pound Pete Alonso. You don't have to do too much to be an average first baseman.
Gotta pick it.
Then second base, ironically, he was actually a 1 OAA guy this year at second base, but that's only in 200 innings.
Yeah, I was going to say limited.
In his career, he's minus 15 OAA in 1,200 innings at the position. So
yeah.
Third base, he's minus 8 in 500 innings. He's played 35 innings at shortstop, actually, and he was a 1 OAA guy in a very small sample size. Though.
Get him back at shortstop.
And outfield, he's minus 4 OAA in 300 innings. He just can't play anywhere except first base. Yeah, so I think that's where he ends up.
Let's go through these 10 to 20 honorable mentions. Let's just name the rest of the league real quick.
Who was your 6?
Gleyber Torres. Yeah, I already. We fuck that, bro. Gosh, what do we got here, bro? What do we got? Honorable mentions. Speed ran. Yeah, baby.
So honorable mentions. I have. I don't know. You may or may not like this. I have Trevor Story as an honorable mention.
Okay.
For two reasons. I think if Trevor Story was going to play second base for 100 games, if he was going to come back in mid-June, late June, and play second base, and I knew that for sure, then I would have him top 10. Because he only played like 100 games this year, and he was still a pretty good, like pretty valuable player. He's a solid defender and average hitter. That's all you really need to be in this top 10.
Yep.
But he just had Tommy John adjacent surgery with his elbow.
Adjacent. Yep.
We don't know if he's going to be back in June, July, or August. We're not sure. There could be delays in rehab. And if he comes back as strong as possible, they might want to put him right at shortstop right away because they don't have a shortstop. And if you want me to get going on the Red Sox lineup, I can rip into it. It looks. I was looking at the roster resource. That looks like a 72-win team. Like it is so tragic looking.
I'm not even. Nope. I can't even. I'm not commenting. I can't do anything here.
The bullpen is really good looking, but everything else is like, my God, that is tragic. All right, let's keep going.
Story's not on my list either. He's not. He's an honorable mention for me as well.
Okay.
Just wasn't good enough.
All right, so I also had another big name. I had Ketel Marte, who had a rough year, and he's always hurt. He's never a good defender, and his ceiling is a really good hitter, but he didn't hit really well this year.
Yep.
So I just think there's too many question marks with it. He could easily be back into like the top 7, top 5 if he has a bounce back year, but I don't really know where he's playing. He could be a utility guy. He could be hurt again. He could be an awful defender, and there's just too many question marks with him. Then my next couple of guys are Ozzy Albies and Luis Rengifo, the fugitive. And those two are both guys who are like a step away from being really good.
Sure.
And my issue with Luis Rengifo is like if the Venezuelan government catches him, he's just going to jail. And I don't know if you know about that story, but he's
I've seen headlines.
He's one misstep away from from getting extradited. But yeah, they're both like solid players. Obviously, Ozzy Albies has like I feel like he's pretty overrated by the general populace because he's had a few like really, really big months to start his career. And I don't think he's really done much he's been hurt a lot. I don't think he's done much to show that he's really a consistent guy who's going to be an above average hitter.
He's definitely not as good of a hitter as I think people prop him up to be. Yeah. He had a really good 2021, but even so, it was like a 107 runs created plus.
Yeah, I know. After
he's not amazing.
The one we did last year, I had him like 4th on my list because I was like, this is gonna be the year he finally breaks out. And then he just like played like 60 games and was not good in the 60 games he played either. So it was just like, all right. Especially on that Braves lineup, they don't need him to be great. He's gonna be like their 7 or 8 hitter now. It looks like they don't need him to be one of their best players. He just has to play and be decent, and that's all they really expect from him. So everyone talked about, that contract is horrible, but it ended up being kind of like a pretty smart deal for him to sign because at this point, I don't know if he would get that much on the open market unless he had a really big year right before his free agency. So
definitely.
Yeah, I also had I had Tyro Estrada in this area. I had Santiago Espinal, who's a great defender for the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
I also have Kevin Biggio because I'm not sure who's going to play more second base for them. And Biggio has a ceiling as a hitter, but he's more of a utility guy anyway. I know he had a few big months, like he's a streaky guy, but I'm not comfortable putting him in my top 10. He's probably more of like a around 15 to 20 guy.
Yep.
I have Colton Wong. Colton Wong had a really good year last year. He just missed my list too. He was definitely like the top 12, 13 range.
Talk about a switch with Wong from really good defense, not great offense, to now bad defense and a really good hitter. Like a 117 runs created plus 2.5 WAR and then -10 outs above average. He was 3rd in outs above average. Like that's crazy, bro.
I feel like that could. I feel like both of those numbers could kind of even off a little bit. Like I could see him being like a 105 WRC plus and also like an adequate fielder. And either way, that's still a pretty good player.
Yeah.
And then I also had Gavin Lux, which I think he's playing shortstop, so I'm not really sure. And what my like wild card one that I have on here is Jonathan Scope, just because he was like a 25 OAA guy, and it's just like if he's gonna field this well, he just has to not be a 60 WRC plus guy again to be a valuable player. So if he could be like an 85 WRC plus with the power that he used to have in Baltimore, and also be a 20 OAA guy, he's a really good player.
He could be sneaky. He's a sneaky option.
Yeah,
easily could.
he's definitely more like
his...
the 15 to 20 like Hail Mary range, but I feel like at his very 100 percentile season, he's going to be a great player.
Absolutely. Let's get into our top 5 now.
All right, top 5. I have Ha-Sung Kim as my number 5 pick.
Oh,
he's one of the Padres' 3 shortstops. It looks like he's going to be the guy taking the move to second base.
Okay.
With obviously now with Xander Bogaerts playing shortstop, and
sure.
We're not sure about Kim's future with the team right now. He could be moved if they decide to move Tatis back to the infield. Yeah. But as of right now, it looks like Tatis will be in right field. That's at least what people are saying. Tatis is going to be in right, Xander at short, Kim at second. And Kim was an excellent player last year. He had a really good year. He kind of does everything pretty well. He's especially great in the field. And he's a solid enough hitter that he cracked my top 5. I don't think he really does have a great ceiling to expand. Like, I don't think he's going to be an excellent player, but he has enough of everything, enough power, gets on base enough, and plays really, really high level defense that he's always going to be in this conversation. Like his defense being in that elite tier, I think is what puts him over the edge for me.
Yeah,
especially he played elite defense at short. He probably should be even better at second. So
theoretically,
yes. But yeah, I do think that there is still room for the glove first middle infielder in this game.
Yeah, I agree. He just missed my list. And honestly,
really.
Yeah, I know, right? Hey, you can roast me all I want.
I think this is the thing about the second base list. Anything outside the top 4 is kind of variable. There's a high. You can debate kind of any way you want to debate with those guys. There's no consistency out there.
Kim is the type of guy that I could easily see splitting time between second base and shortstop still. He's way better defensively than Xander is. Like, honestly, I would not mind if they just came right out and said, yo, Xander's moving over to second base. Like, give him an off season to work on it. And maybe they do that next year, or maybe that's in the soon, future. Xander had his, this past year was his first time having above average defensive statistics at shortstop. So I'm a little unconvinced that he could stick there.
I read about how like all last offseason he just worked at moving laterally and like getting to that ball in the hole. And it obviously worked out for Xander. So the thing is, can he continue it as he gets into his into his mid 30s? And we're not sure. I'm sure he'll be decent enough this year, but obviously, I think Kim's always going to be a better fielder. Kim's arm isn't huge or anything though, so I think it move to second base doesn't really hurt him because his whole thing is he has insane range and that'll play at either position.
Yeah, and maybe he should make my list. Honestly, I kind of forgot that they'd probably be moving him over to second base. I have the other option at second base for the Padres, Jake Cronenworth, number 5. Played majority second base this past year. Good player, good enough. He's the most
solid bat. He kind of does everything. Also, he's
right.
He's just like he's a slightly better hitter, slightly worse fielder version of Kim.
Yes,
like he's gonna do everything with the bat. He has some pop. He gets on base a decent amount. Like he's not gonna do anything that blows you away. But my thing with him is he didn't make my list because I think he's playing first for them. And I think right now, Roster Resource at least has him at first base, and I don't really know what their other first base options are besides him. So I'll say like play Matt Carpenter at first or something, but I'm not sure how comfortable they're going to be with that.
Yeah, that is tough because they're both lefties too. I guess I kind of figured Carpenter would be at first, but maybe they play him DH instead.
Well, they have an 80-year-old Nelson Cruz at DH too. But I guess they
that's right. That's who they got. I was trying to. Who got Josh Bell?
Right. Josh Bell's on Cleveland now.
Oh, you're right. Gosh.
But I'm going to say Roster Resource has Carpenter in left, Kim at second, Cronenworth at first.
Oh, interesting.
And then I guess when Tatis gets back, he'll play right. For them. I don't know. Let me pull it up real quick.
I would guess they would have Tatis in right, which is such a weird position switch. I was so weirded out by that.
Oh, they have Soto in right now, though. Like, who... I forgot they had Juan Soto on the team. Like that's just nuts. So I guess
he's got to be left.
Yeah, they move Soto to left, have Tatis in right, have
Right.
Carpenter. I guess what'll happen is Cronenworth will get time at second base, but I think he'll start the year mostly at first, and then when Tatis gets back, you'll see some days where Cronenworth plays second, and then they have Carpenter at first and Kim on the bench.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to mix it up a bit.
Sure.
But I do think it looks like Kim will be the primary second baseman and Cronenworth primary first baseman, at least for now. And if Carpenter's just like out hitting everyone, like if Carpenter has a run like he did with the Yankees last year where he's just hitting everything, he'll have to find the lineup somehow.
Right.
So I could see him moving into first, and then it depends if they want to go with offense or defense at second. They can decide between our two number 5 second baseman picks. So I do find it funny that we both had Padres, but different Padres.
Yeah, right. See, that's the tough part about this list, bro. Especially when I started looking at the Padres, the Cardinals, just situations where you're like, guys are moving spots and you don't know where they're going to be. And you're like, well, do I go off of this past year or what, roster resource says they're going to be starting at, or, whatever it is.
Dude, they have the Padres line. I have them as it's them and the Astros are in my like number 1 tier in baseball right now in terms of this championship probability. Like the Padres line, I put up a tier list a couple weeks ago on Twitter, and I got a lot of people like, oh, I don't think the Padres are that high, but like, dude, they have like 4 Hall of Fame level hitters in their top 4 spots. Then they also have Nelson Cruz, who's obviously getting really old, but like they're just their 1 through 4 is like the best in baseball by far, and then their 5 through 9 is also really, really good. So it's like that lineup to me is probably the best in baseball by a good margin right now. I don't see any other lineup that comes close to that as of right now. Maybe if Atlanta's fully healthy, but like I don't know. Like the Dodgers aren't as good as they were last year. The Phillies when Harper gets back, maybe, but they're already going to be without Harper for a few months.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't see any other lineup doing the same things that they could do once Tatis is back, especially.
Yeah, they're definitely going to make some noise. And, I mean, the fact you have Kim and I have Cronenworth, like, the depth they have is
this is like their 7 or 8 hitters, like, we're talking about as top 5 in their position.
And on the off chance, like you said, that Carpenter can do half of what he did this past year, maybe hope for over a longer period of time with the Padres than when he was with the Yankees.
I mean, he's the best home run hitter since Barry Bonds, according to according to my video titling. And one very cherry picked metric, he was.
If there's something I know about YouTube titles and thumbnails, they should be taken extremely literally and as fact. Especially yours.
It is
especially
true.
Yours.
I would never clickbait you. All right.
Never. That's why I watch. That's why I watch. Honestly,
that's why I'm the best up and coming baseball YouTuber. I would never clickbait my audience.
Your honesty is fantastic. Number 4 here. What do we got?
My integrity. My number 4. This is the one that'll piss Mets fans off. I have Jeff McNeil at 4.
Oh,
they're gonna cry because he's not ranked number 1 or 2.
Yep.
But yeah, Jeff McNeil's this is already the elite tier. These top 4 guys to me, like there's Jeff McNeil is closer to 1 than he is to 5 in my opinion.
Not in your ranking.
I mean, in terms of if you were to rank
skill,
yes,
yeah.
I'd have these top 4 guys clustered, and then the rest of the field all down here.
Tier list style, yeah.
McNeil was he 143 WRC plus this year or something? Like, he was ridiculously good. He's one of the best contact bats in the league. He actually, I think he hit for a lower average this year, and also hit for a little bit more pop than he had in the past. So I do think he's evolved a little bit as a hitter, but in general, he's still the same type of like, he's a really tough out who has some pop and can get on base a ton. And he's also a good enough defender at second base. He's a solid defender, and so he does everything really, really well with the bat, and then has the defense to back it up. So 6-win player, you can't really argue with that. They just extended him to an extremely team friendly deal, probably more team friendly than the Albies deal that everyone was crying about.
Fair.
So I really like him. I don't think he should. He may regress a little bit because he was just that good this year that I don't know if he's going to be able to sustain the 350 BABIP forever, but I can still see him as like a easy 4 to 5 win player perpetually throughout the next like the run of this extension. So yeah, I really like him for this year.
Okay. I'm gonna once we get there, I'm gonna need some justification why he's below your number 4. I'm no huge Mets fan or anything, but I'm gonna need some justification here. Before we get to my number 4, is I'm assuming you're number 3, but we'll find out. My number 4 is Marcus Semien on the Texas Rangers. 2020 season, 26 homers, 25 stolen bases. Doesn't strike out very much. Not a crazy walk percentage or anything like that. Below average BABIP, 263, so I easily could see that rising. But definitely a down year from him. He's still amazing defensively. 8 outs above average. He's 95th percentile. 4.2 WAR, 107 runs created plus. Not amazing. I think the defense definitely does the legwork here. But also the fact that he plays almost every single game, what seems like every single year, his consistency and the ability to just kind of throw him out there, almost like Dansby Swanson in a way, where he's not amazing at anything. Honestly, you look at the 20 homers, 25 stolen bases, and you're like, oh, he's a star. But the hitting overall is just not great, and it's honestly the quantity that really gets him up there.
Yeah,
I think.
I want to debate this a little bit because you say he's like Dansby. I think he's like Dansby if he's what people think Dansby is, because I think he has better tools than Dansby.
Okay,
he's got more pop and his base running is better. I'm not sure if the actual speed number is higher, but I think this year was like his lowest offensive output is what his lowest is going to be. His BABIP was 20 points below his career norm.
Sure.
And if you look, 2019 massive year, 2020 down year, 2021 massive year, 2022 a little bit of a down year. 2020 he's a big odd year guy. last two odd years over 6 wins. You're gonna bet against this guy right now? And he was still his down year was a 4.2 win season, and he's like never been hurt in his life. This is I have him as my number 3, so I'm gonna get into this right now. Like McNeil had a great season. This was the first time Jeff McNeil's ever been better than Marcus Semien, and he wasn't that much better than Marcus Semien. Marcus Semien was still a really good player this year, even though he had his worst offensive. Marcus Semien was dreadful for the first 2 months. The last 4 months of the season, he was back to a similar guy as he was last year. So I don't see any. Maybe it took a little bit to adjust to playing in that fucking grill that they call a stadium in Texas.
Very pitcher-friendly park, I will say. That new park is.
Oh yeah, and he still hit.
They went from hitter-friendly to pitching-friendly.
26 homers playing in that disgusting stadium, and I don't know what their lineup's going to look like, but I have both him and Corey Seager having a bit of bounce back years. I think Corey Seager could finish top 3 in the AL MVP voting. That's one of my bold takes this year. So if he has
so on board with that, I'm so on the Seager train.
If he has Corey Seager hitting behind him at an MVP level, I think he's going to see a lot of pitches to hit, and he could have another really, really big year, another 5-6 win season. So I definitely think he's got more of a track record, and he's got the Iron Man trait that barely anyone else has in the league these days. So I think it's possible that that's my justification for having him above McNeil. And I think it's reasonable. I think it's not unreasonable to have these guys kind of similar, but I trust Semien a little bit more to continue being great.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable. It's just insane. I think no, no. I've got them right next to each other as well.
You're blinded by the WRC plus. That's all I'm gonna say.
Listen, bro. Same defense. McNeil has. Last year was the down year for McNeil. Absolutely. So I don't want to disregard that too much. And maybe I am. And maybe I am blinded by the runs created plus, but also runs created plus does matter, and he's freaking 40% better than Semien. So I don't know, bro. I don't know about Semien. Especially looking at the spot page.
I'm looking at the fan graphs right now. I'm looking at I know Semien's Savant isn't as great, has never been as great as his production, but I'm looking at the fan graphs. Jeff McNeil went from a 92 WRC plus to 143 WRC plus. I think he falls somewhere in between. Obviously, it's a massive range. I think he falls probably around He's been a 131 his whole career, but
Yep.
he's had a lot of injuries over the course of his career. He's not going to be a 350 BABIP guy forever. He's probably going to be closer to like 320, 330, which is he'll probably still be a 125, 130 WRC plus guy.
Yep.
But he presents some injury risk. He's not as good of a base runner. Does not have anywhere near the same power. Yep. I just think like he'll get on base like a ton, but I don't know. Yep. I just don't think I think the best possible season from McNeil is what we just saw. Mm-hmm. And Semien has had 2 seasons better than that in his career, and he was still not too far off of that on a down year.
Sure.
So I don't know. I think Semien is in that elite tier.
Yeah. It's tough for me just because looking at the Savant page for Semien, and like you said, 2019, amazing. 2020, not good. Which I will fully, I would love to just wash 2020 clean. Like that doesn't show up on my barometer at all. So when he comes back
Dodgers
in 2021...
fans, that year didn't count. What a real ring.
No, I'll count. I count the World Series, absolutely. But individual player stats I don't want to value that too much. So he comes back in 2021, back to amazing again. And I'm like, all right, perfect. We're ready to go. This is the guy that they're getting. Texas Rangers, baby. Big contract. And maybe he was pressing a little bit with that big contract, and that easily could be the case, like you said, in the first 2 months. And that's a storyline to keep up on. If he starts off in April hitting like we know he can, then absolutely next year you're going to see him be above Jeff McNeil on my list.
What he was doing the last half of last year, if he's consistent like that the whole year, he's going to be a 5 or 6 win player again. That's the only reason I have him up there.
I feel you. All right, fair enough. I will say the batted ball data does confirm those on and off years.
He does not hit the ball as hard as a lot of people assume he does because he has the home run power.
Sure.
But man, he knows how to lift the ball and pull the ball in the air, and that's just like it's such a valuable trait that you don't just look at by looking at the red circles on Savant or by looking at counting stats. You can't really tell with these guys, but yeah, the way he hits where he hits the ball is valuable.
Sure, but even just looking at the barrel percentage, I mean, it tracks with his on and down years.
Yeah. Definitely
not like his barrel percentage is off the charts on his good years.
Yeah,
it's not like it's terrible.
Yeah,
but there's definitely a clear difference there. So I definitely think we're going to be able to tell if he is back to same with exit velocity as well. It goes from 88.9 in 2019, 86.2 in 2020, 89.7, and then 87.3.
Yeah,
so there's definitely a clear 2 to 3.
89.7 average exit velo is not anything crazy, and he still hit 45 homers. Like that's the thing with him. I don't think
that was his past year, but yeah. And he still hit 26 homers. But once again, I think it's the quantity that eventually he will get there because he plays so much. Either way, Jeff McNeil's my number 3. Amazing season.
So the Mets fans are still going to be mad at you for putting him below Andres Gimenez. And
they're insane. Then that's insane.
So
and maybe I'm not.
Maybe I'm not 2 or 1.
I got Gimenez 2.
You got Gimenez 2.
You got him number 1, bro?
No, I got Gimenez 2 also.
Okay.
I don't need the Astros army coming after me, bro. Like, trust me, I don't need to open that can of worms.
I don't know. Hey, any press is good press. That's what I hear. Andres Gimenez.
I want a bunch of Astros fans in my comments.
Yes, you do. Gimenez had an absolutely amazing season. Just a huge breakout. We know the speed is fully legit. I'm interested to see what the power is / will be.
I know it's possible that Gimenez plays shortstop this year.
Sure.
But the reason I have him above the other 2 guys is I don't think he's as good of a hitter as McNeil or Semien in the long run. I think he's going to regress a little bit. I don't think he's going to get the same batted ball luck as he's had. But the defense is so elite that he automatically has a floor as like a 3-win player. If he plays every day and he just doesn't hit, he's still like a 3-win player because he's an elite defender in the middle infield. Yep. So he's what he just had was probably his around the top of his play, like a 6-win player. Like I don't know how much better he'll get than that, but he'll probably have a few 4 or 5 win seasons in the next few years as long as he's as long as his range stays as good as it is. So I definitely think he's the safest bet to repeat as a really, really great player, even if his hitting regresses a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. This was the breakout year for him, so we're kind of in this waiting period. See what is there a sophomore slump? What are we doing here? And I definitely agree. I'm in a 353 BABIP. You gotta be Jeff McNeil level of contact ability. Just get the bat on the ball. You got to be that good to be able to carry that good of a BABIP for multiple years or even part of your career. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But the on base is good enough. He doesn't strike out too much. The speed, good enough power as well. 140 runs created plus, and like you said, the defense 98th percentile in outs above average, baby.
You
fantastic.
Get 140 WRC plus and elite middle infield defense. You take that all day. Like the other guys on this list. Yeah, at second base.
At second base.
Any position up the middle like that, you take that all day. That's the only reason I have him ahead of McNeil and Semien. Like Simeon's a great fielder, McNeil's a solid fielder. But they're just not going to give you that game changing ability up the middle to really create that floor for themselves.
Absolutely. All right, number 1 here.
It sucks, man. I hate to say it. Like I was
Why?
What? I'm a Yankees fan. I can't support the guy, but Jose Altuve is just so good. It just pisses me off. No, I was the biggest Altuve fan through 2016, and then the writers robbed Judge of his rightful MVP in 2017, and then Altuve just whacked us around in the playoffs 3 times, and I just I love the guy. He's a short second baseman. He's shorter than me, and he plays my position. I should love this guy. I did love this guy forever. But now he kills my team. He comes back. He has a couple of down years. Comes back at age 33 and just hits the shit out of the ball. I'm like, this might have been his second or this was better than his MVP season at the plate. Where does this come from? This guy's a midget. Why is he hit this well?
He's just that good, bro.
He's just that me off.
Good. It's absolutely insane.
164 WRC plus. He did not field well this year, but who cares?
He's 76th percentile in outs above average. Yeah.
He's not the same. He came up as a elite speed, really good fielder guy with a high contact, and now he's a 30 homer guy who walks 11% of the time, barely strikes out, hits for 300. He's very close. He's dangerously close to being a 300, 400, 500 guy as a decent enough second baseman. Defensively, that's ridiculously good. He's a Hall of Famer. This is a guy who should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He probably won't be because of the cheating stuff, even though he wasn't really involved in that.
Sure,
but he's the second baseman of this generation.
Absolutely, he's fantastic, man. The consistency, and then every time you think you can kind of count him out, or the power's slipping. Here it goes. Nope. Comes right back, hits 28 bombs, still stealing bags as well, even as he gets older. The hitting is going to be there, period, and the defense is good enough. It's absolutely insane.
He walked 11% of the time. What is going on? This was his second best power season in terms of the ISO, and also his best walking season. And he still hit 300. This guy got they didn't even invite him to the workout, and when he was 16, trying to get a workout with the Astros, they didn't invite him because he was too small. And now he's the fucking best second baseman in baseball at age 32 still.
Yeah,
it makes me sick. It makes me sick that the Astros have good things.
They got a lot of good things too. They got a lot of good stuff, man. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic.
My God, they have him, Yordan, and Tucker.
Gives me hope. He gives me hope.
They lost George Springer and I don't know.
Carlos Correa.
They lost Carlos Correa, George Springer. They lost Verlander. They lost Garrett Cole, and they're still World Series favorites. They lost 4 top 25, top 30 players, and are still World Series favorites.
Right. It's not even like they just go out and get the other Garrett Cole.
No, they don't.
It's just in the system. Yeah,
they just
Christian Javier.
They call him Christian Javier, and he throws 40 quality starts in a row. And you're like, where the fuck did they get this guy from?
Factually, I don't think he actually threw 40 quality starts in a row.
He threw 29 in a row, though.
Fair. There you go.
He'll probably get to 40 this year. He hasn't thrown a non-quality start since the last time I was on this fucking podcast. He hasn't thrown a non-quality start.
It's great, man.
Last time he threw a non-quality start, I was at like 600 subscribers. Like,
yeah.
They're a machine of developing. I will say though, I don't think they're going in the right direction in terms of front office. I think Jim Crane, who's their GM this year? He forced them out.
Well, James Click, they forced out.
Yeah, and I think that seems to me like a little bit of owner hubris, which I would just love. I would love for Jim Crane to be like Jerry Jones type, where he just thinks he's a genius because he had smart people doing work for him, and then thinks he's the guy to build a team.
I was getting these inklings as soon as it came out after the season that he nixed a deal for Wilson Contreras.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's getting a little
which it sounded like the return would have been Jose Urquidy, and especially at the time, and even looking back, I would take Wilson Contreras over Christian Vasquez all day.
Dude, imagine
especially if you only got to give up Urquidy.
Contreras with that short porch too, with the Crawford boxes. That's like a 35 homer potential over a whole season from your catcher, who's like not even, who like figured out how to be like a decent enough defender. Like he's not a good catcher, but he's like good enough to stick back there and also be one of the best power hitters in baseball. So yeah, I don't know. They probably wouldn't have kept him long term, but because they don't like Jim Crane also doesn't like spending money. That's another thing, which like you're eventually going to have to spend money to keep all these guys. Like obviously they have Jordan extended, but you can't just have this perpetual. You can't. There's going to be a point where you either run out of guys through development, or you have to spend money to keep the guy. Like you can't just keep on this cycle forever. So if Jim Crane gets a little greedy, doesn't want to spend any money, and also wants to have a say in what the GM is doing, then I do think that's going to be their downfall. But it still doesn't look like it's going to be for another few years because they still have so much talent on the roster right now.
Yeah, and they've been willing to spend enough money. I mean, upgrading big time at first base with Jose Abreu, willing to outspend, it sounds like, a good amount of other teams, while also being the Houston Astros and almost guaranteeing.
Abreu doesn't really feel like an Astros move to me, though. That feels like a Jim Crane move. You know, Abreu's going to be solid, but would they have spent money on a first baseman like that before, or would they have found someone that is decent that they could move to first base and then have a breakout season? Like that's my type of thinking right there.
They also have the luxury of being able to spend above what they need to at first base because they didn't need much at all. They can say goodbye to Justin Verlander.
That's true.
Not do anything to that.
I will say I was the biggest. We're pretty much done with this list. We're just talking about the Astros now. There's nothing to dispute with Altuve. Like we all know he's the best.
Oh no, yeah. Oh, he's filthy.
But with the Astros, I was the biggest Bregman hater because I thought 2019 was the biggest fluke season ever. Like 43 homers, and he just did not hit the ball hard enough to be a 43 homer guy.
Yep.
Plus, he was a cheating scumbag. But then this year, he's due for like he's one of the most underrated players in baseball now, which kills me because I was hating on him for so long. Let me check. What was his walk rate last year? I think it was ridiculous, right? It's 13.
I think it was above his K percentage.
He walked more than he struck out last year.
Yeah.
So he's not the 41 homer guy that he was in 2019. He's going to be like a 25 to 30 homer guy at the best, but he's also going to walk a ton. Like they have these their top four hitters are kind of the only ones who come close to the Padres. Mm-hmm. When you have Altuve, Bregman, Jordan, and Tucker, those four guys are all going to be at least 130 WRC plus. And they're all really good at drawing walks. They're all good at getting on base, and they all have power. So it's like they're all very complete hitters.
I might take Astros lineup over Padres.
I don't think I would as a whole because I still think they have some holes. Like who's playing center field for them this year?
McCormick? No. Who was
Let me check their. Yeah, Chas McCormick's like not very good. Martin Maldonado can't hit for anything. Like Michael Brantley is going to be their DH allegedly, and he hasn't. I don't know if he could stay. If he's healthy, then he's really good, but he's not great. Yep.
I still believe in him.
Abreu's,
Six swing. Favorite swing.
Oh, he's such a great. He's a pure hitter. But like Abreu too is a really good player, but like Abreu and Brantley should both regress a little bit. Jeremy Pena's good, but he's no Correa, especially with the bat.
Not yet.
He's only 20. He's 25. It's not like he's older than Gleyber Torres. I don't think there's that much room for improvement. Like, I don't think he's going to end up suddenly being a 140 WRC plus guy like some Astros fans think he will be.
All right.
He's going to be. He's ready. He's a good player. He's a really good player.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably a borderline top 10 shortstop in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like maybe he's probably like the top 12 range because there's so many good shortstops, especially. But like I don't think he's anything like as a hitter. I think that the Padres have 3 guys who could play shortstop who are just as good at hitting. Like Kim was a better hitter than Jeremy Pena this year, if I am reading that correctly, according to WRC Plus.
Was he really?
Yeah, Pena was 102. Kim was 105.
Oh, fair enough. All right, fair enough.
So yeah, Pena doesn't impress me as much as he could.
We've done a full breakdown of the Astros roster.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I think
beautiful way.
Padres' lineup is better, but the Astros pitching still blows away the Padres. Right. So I still think the Astros are the best team in baseball. Unfortunately, I can't wait to lose to them again this year.
Absolutely. Oh, I can't wait to watch it as well from my couch.
Yeah, from your 72-win Red Sox couch.
Jake, thanks so much for joining me on this episode 183, doing the top 10 second baseman again. Plug your stuff. Where can people find you, and why should people watch the YouTube channel?
Go to youtube.com/andthat'sbaseball because I make awesome content. My newest video was actually not a baseball video. It was a politics video about Curt Schilling and how he's a bigot and you should hate Curt Schilling. Well, that's according to that's what all the comments say that I said actually, but I don't feel like I said that, but that's what all the angry right-wing comments said about me. But I don't know. It was fun to do that. I just like to do evergreen content like that about stories. I like telling stories about this game because that's what I think. To me, that's what makes the game. Obviously, I love the stats too, but I think the stories is what really drives the sports world. So I like to talk about stuff that you can hear 10 years from now and still kind of not necessarily be relevant, but it could still be a fun time to watch and hear about and learn about.
Sure.
So, and also check out my Twitter @andthat'sbb on Twitter because I tweet I've been tweeting a lot about basketball recently because I'm a Nets fan and Kyrie Irving just got traded. So I've been tweeting my Kyrie Irving slander. So if you want to see that, go to my Twitter.
Yeah. So as far as we know, and that's basketball. I mean, it could easily stand for basketball.
Yeah, except for my logo being a baseball. It just I could trick a lot of people.
You could. Yeah, you could do like basketball day or something like that. Cool, dude. Thanks for joining me, dude. This was great. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Maybe watching. We'll see if I can get this on YouTube in the next couple of days. We'll find out. But either way, thanks for listening. Make sure to leave a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts. Tell me what you like about the show. 5 stars in Spotify as well. I greatly appreciate it.
Tell us how awful our lists are too, because that's where we get the ratings here. When you're talking about how awful I messed up by putting Jeff McNeil 4th.
Yeah, right. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Braves fans, Brandon Lau fans, sorry. There's going to be a lot of fans that I think are maybe a little frustrated from this list, which who wouldn't be, That's how you get people to watch, listen, all that good stuff.
I'll see you
Thanks
next
for doing
year,
this,
brother.
dude. Absolutely, right. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.